The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden hue over the horizon, and I could feel the excitement bubbling inside me, like the waves crashing against the shore. Today was the day. I had been dreaming about this moment for weeks, planning every detail, and now it was finally here. My epic beach day with my pup, Max. He was a golden retriever with a heart as big as the ocean and a spirit that matched the waves. I could already picture us side by side, riding the surf like we were born to do it. I packed the car with all the essentials: a cooler filled with snacks, a beach umbrella, sunscreen, and of course, Max's favorite toys. I even brought a small surfboard, one that was just the right size for him. I had watched countless videos of dogs surfing, their tails wagging in pure joy as they rode the waves, and I was determined to teach Max how to do the same. I could already hear the cheers of the beachgoers as they watched us conquer the waves together. As we arrived at the beach, the salty breeze hit my face, and I felt alive. Max jumped out of the car, his tail wagging furiously, and he bounded toward the sand, his paws digging into the grains like he was discovering a new world. I laughed as he rolled around, kicking up sand and barking with glee. This was his paradise, and I was so grateful to share it with him. I set up our little spot, the umbrella providing shade from the sun, and laid out a blanket for us to relax on. Max, however, had other plans. He was already sprinting toward the water, his enthusiasm contagious. I watched as he splashed through the shallows, barking at the waves as they rolled in, his golden fur glistening in the sunlight. It was a sight that filled my heart with joy. This was what life was about, moments like these, pure and unfiltered. After letting him enjoy the water for a while, I decided it was time to introduce him to the surfboard. I called him over, and he trotted back, his tongue lolling out of his mouth, panting happily. I held up the board, and he tilted his head, curious. "This is going to be so much fun, buddy," I said, trying to contain my excitement. I placed the board on the sand and encouraged him to hop on. He sniffed it, then jumped up, his paws landing clumsily on the surface. I cheered him on, clapping my hands, and he looked back at me, tail wagging, as if he understood that we were about to embark on an adventure. With the board positioned in the shallow water, I gently guided him onto it, showing him how to balance. At first, he wobbled, his legs unsure, but with a little coaxing and a lot of treats, he started to get the hang of it. I could see the determination in his eyes, the same look I had when I was learning to ride a bike as a kid. "You've got this, Max, just like that," I encouraged, my voice filled with enthusiasm. The beach was alive with laughter and cheers from other beachgoers who had gathered to watch our little lesson. As the waves rolled in, I pushed the board further into the water, and Max instinctively paddled with his paws, his excitement palpable. The first wave came, and I steadied the board, giving him a gentle nudge. He caught the wave, and for a brief moment it felt like time stood still. We were gliding together, the water rushing beneath us, and I could hardly believe my eyes. Max was surfing. I couldn't contain my joy, shouting and clapping as we rode the wave to the shore. The cheers from the crowd echoed in my ears, and I felt like we were champions. But then, as with all great adventures, things took a turn. The next wave was bigger, and I miscalculated. I pushed the board too far out, and as the wave crashed down, it sent us tumbling. I fell into the water, and Max, startled, jumped off the board, paddling frantically back to the shore. I surfaced, sputtering and laughing, my heart racing. "Max, come back!" I called, but he was already halfway to the sand, shaking off the water like a wild man, his golden fur flying everywhere. I swam back to the shore, laughing at the absurdity of it all. Max was standing there, looking at me with wide eyes, as if to say, "What just happened?" I couldn't help but laugh even harder. "You're not done yet, buddy." "We're just getting started," I said, ruffling his fur as I caught my breath. The beach was filled with laughter, and I could see other dogs watching, their owners smiling at our antics. After a quick break, we were back at it. This time, I was more cautious, and Max seemed to have learned from our little mishap. He hopped back onto the board, and I steadied it in the water. We caught wave after wave, and each time it felt like we were flying. The thrill of the ride, the wind in our faces, and the sound of the ocean surrounded us. It was pure bliss. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, I looked at Max, who was panting happily beside me. We had shared an incredible day, filled with laughter, splashes, and a few tumbles. I realized that it didn't matter if we were the best surfers on the beach. What mattered was the bond we had formed, the joy we had shared, and the memories we had created. I wrapped my arms around him, pulling him close, and whispered, "You're my surfing buddy, Max, always." And in that moment, I knew that this epic beach day would be etched in my heart forever.